Ever get that feeling, like when something's just off,
Oh, yeah.
like a picture hanging crooked,
Hmm.
but you can't figure out why it's bugging you.
Right, right.
That's kind of what Giselle Pellico's life must have felt like for
No.
years, really.
Wow.
Except the crooked picture was, well, her whole marriage
Hmm.
and what was behind it.
Yeah.
Truly horrifying.
You really gave us a tough one today. A deep dive
Oh,
into
hell, right?
a total nightmare scenario. We're talking true crime here.
Yeah.
This case centered on Dominique Pellico,
Uh-huh.
and the amount of info you dug up, wow. Court documents,
Oh, yeah.
legal analyses, even a book by Pellico's own daughter.
It's a lot.
It paints a very disturbing picture.
Right. And for Giselle, the woman at the center of this whole thing,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, bam, some sudden revelation.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like this slow unraveling,
Right.
this creeping suspicion that things weren't right.
And that's what's so unsettling, right? It reminds us that the worst things, they don't always happen in dark hours,
No.
but in ordinary homes, behind closed doors
Yeah.
with people we think we know.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little.
All right.
Dominique and Giselle's marriage.
Okay.
On the surface, at least, it looked like a fairy tale.
Really?
Met young, fell head over heels, married quick, the whole whirlwind thing.
Huh.
Built a life, 3 kids, nice home, the perfect family.
From the outside, sure. But if you look closer at the early years,
Okay.
Giselle recounts this in her daughter's book.
Right.
There were these little inconsistencies.
Like what?
Dominique was always cagey about his past, especially his first marriage, and their money situation up and down, despite his supposed success.
So red flags.
Yeah, but in hindsight, at the
Yeah.
time,
It's easy to miss them.
exactly. Giselle, like many of us, she wanted to believe the best.
Trust the man she loved.
Right, and that's how abusers work, They build this
yeah.
web of trust so that when things change, when the abuse starts,
It's harder to see it for what it is.
it's insidious. And for Giselle, that shift, it started with her health.
Ah,
Sudden weight loss, hair falling out, always tired.
wow.
But the worst part, what really got to her,
What?
was the memory loss.
Memory loss.
She'd lose hours, sometimes whole days, just gone.
And she wouldn't know where she'd been.
Nothing. Blank.
It's like something out of a movie.
Right. And she's going from doctor to doctor, test after test,
Yeah.
but nothing. No answers.
She must have felt like she was going crazy.
The doctors were baffled, and she felt like she was losing it.
That's terrifying.
All this time, Dominique's the perfect husband.
Really?
Concerned, supportive, always there for her.
But knowing what we know now,
Chillin', right.
he wasn't just watching her suffer, he was causing it.
Yeah.
It was like he was gaslighting her, making her doubt herself
Wow.
while he was planning everything behind the scenes.
And then it all comes crashing down. The mask slips.
What happened?
Dominique's arrested.
Arrested? For what?
Not something subtle, no.
Yeah.
Voyeurism.
Right.
At the supermarket.
No way.
Filming women in the changing rooms.
He got caught.
Caught red-handed. And his excuse, pathetic, said Giselle was out of town.
Oh, come.
And he just couldn't control himself.
Please.
Thankfully, the officer wasn't buying it.
Good.
Something about Dominique, his attitude,
Yeah.
set off alarm bells, and that officer's gut feeling.
Yeah.
It led to a much bigger investigation.
One that revealed something far worse than anyone expected.
Because this whole peeping Tom thing,
Right.
just the tip of the iceberg.
Wow.
What they found on his computer,
What?
the stuff of nightmares,
Tell me.
a folder, just labeled abusive.
Abuse.
Thousands of photos and videos, all organized. Evidence of this horrific scheme.
Yeah, I don't even.
And it's in that folder, all those files, that we start to see
Yeah.
the extent of his depravity,
Yeah.
how he planned Giselle's suffering for years.
It was heavy stuff.
Each photo, each video, just awful.
Yeah.
They showed Giselle drugged, unconscious, being assaulted by all these different men.
Dominique was there too.
Oh yeah, he wasn't just filming this. He was directing it.
Directing.
Like he was making a movie. Giselle's life, his own twisted film.
It's important to remember this wasn't just about sex for him. This was power, control, humiliation, the way he documented everything.
Right.
Dates, names, even how many times each man assaulted her.
It's sickening.
It shows a truly disturbed mind. He needed to record it all.
It's chilling. And the details, his routine for each assault.
What do you mean?
He'd park far away, make the men wait an hour in the car.
What?
He'd tell them to warm their hands so Giselle wouldn't wake up.
This was all planned, every detail.
Meticulously, It wasn't impulsive.
And he insisted on no condoms. That's just,
Oh.
it wasn't just assault. He was deliberately putting her at risk.
Dehumanizing her.
Yeah.
And she ended up with multiple STIs.
It makes you wonder
I know.
how someone could be so cruel to someone they supposedly loved.
It makes you question everything.
It really does. It shatters your trust in everything.
But there's another part to this, another layer.
Okay.
Dominique used the internet for more than just documenting the abuse.
What do you mean?
He used it to recruit, to find other men who, well,
Who were like him?
yeah. And it's disturbing, but it's crucial to understanding him.
Okay.
How he validated himself, normalized what he was doing.
You're talking about the online chat room.
The one he called without her or his knowledge.
Oh, God.
This wasn't just one man's perversion. It was a whole network.
A community of abuse.
And it wasn't for money. He wasn't pimping her out.
Then what was it?
It was about his ego and this twisted community's desires.
He was offering her up to them, like some kind of sacrifice.
And the men he found there, it's unbelievable.
What kind of men?
A firefighter,
Yeah.
a cop, a guidance counselor, even their neighbor.
No. These weren't criminals in hiding.
These were everyday people Giselle knew,
Living double lives.
who were willing to do this to her.
It shows you. Predators don't always fit the mold.
No.
They can be anyone. Charming, devoted partners even.
It's terrifying.
That's why this case is so important to talk about.
It makes you realize
Evil can hide anywhere. The people closest to us.
could be capable of anything.
Exactly.
It's hard to believe it could get worse.
It does.
The investigation,
Yeah.
it found another layer to this whole thing. And honestly, when I read about it,
Go on.
it made me sick. Physically ill.
It's often the case, with these crimes.
Yeah.
The first discovery is just the start.
Mm.
The more they dig, the more horrifying it gets, and hear more victims.
What? Oh, no. Ooh.
People Dominique was closest to.
You mean?
His own family.
No.
It's the worst kind of betrayal, right? We saw how he betrayed his wife, but to prey on his daughters-in-law?
The people he should have protected.
Exactly. It's a level of, depravity, hard to grasp.
So what did they find?
Images, videos of his daughter, Caroline.
Oh, God.
Some showed her unconscious, wearing Giselle's underwear.
This is... Can't even... And then his daughters-in-law, also clearly taken without consent.
Dominique, did he admit to this too?
He admits to Giselle, yeah.
Huh?
But his daughter, the daughters-in-law,
Yeah.
he denies any wrongdoing, claims the images were, I don't know.
What, like accidental?
He says taken without their knowledge, but no intent to harm.
But come on, secretly filming them like that.
It's a huge violation of privacy, no matter how you spin it.
And knowing everything else about him.
Right. Hard to believe it was just for him to look at.
Exactly. It's the context, right?
The manipulation, the meticulous way he hurt Giselle,
Makes you think those
Yeah.
pictures, they weren't innocent.
and the trauma for those women, even if he didn't physically assault them,
Right.
the betrayal, the fear, heavy burden to carry.
Awful. And then there's this whole protege thing. Another layer of messed up.
The mentorship.
If you can even call it that.
It's a disturbing detail for sure.
Yeah.
Dominique wasn't satisfied with just Giselle and maybe his family.
No.
He was teaching another guy, Jean-Pierre,
To do the same. To his own wife.
Celia, drugging her, assaulting her for 5 years.
Dominique needed control, you see. Validation. It's like
Oh, God, like he wanted
sort of
to...
a legacy
Yeah.
of abuse. He wasn't just a perpetrator.
He was creating more perpetrators.
Exactly. And Jean-Pierre, at first he hesitated.
Really?
He had some morals, But Dominique,
Yeah.
he wore him down, convinced him it was okay, even desirable.
It's chilling, this power Dominique had.
It highlights how coercive control works.
Yeah.
It erodes your sense of self, your boundaries, your judgment.
Jean-Pierre became like
Dominique's puppet, a tool.
a virus spreading. And it makes you wonder,
How many others are out there?
right, men who, because of someone like Dominique,
Do things they never thought they would.
terrifying thought.
Yeah,
But we have to recognize the signs,
absolutely. Of manipulation, of control.
In
Well,
our own life.
and in others' lives. We have to speak up, intervene when we see it happening.
Because staying silent.
Protects the abuser, they keep going. More victims.
But Dominique, his crimes didn't start with Giselle.
That's right.
His past. A whole pattern of this behavior going way back.
Decades. And I think that's important to see the bigger picture.
It wasn't just him snapping. A bad choice. It was a pattern.
Building, escalating, long before Giselle.
So what happened?
In '99, there was Estella, a real estate agent, attacked in her home.
Dominique did that.
His DNA was there, but the case went nowhere.
And then 91, Sophie. Murdered. Another real estate agent.
Again, they suspected him, DNA evidence.
But nothing happened.
He was never held accountable.
So he was free to keep hurting people.
Exactly. It makes you wonder how many others.
It's infuriating. If the system had worked,
So many lives could have been spared.
it's heartbreaking. But then there's Giselle.
Amazing woman.
Her bravery to come forward with this,
To go public.
with everything she went through, she chose to fight back.
Not just for herself, for all of Dominique's victims.
She didn't want to be silent. She wanted everyone to know.
And the trial, it was huge. 51 defendants.
Dominique, Jean-Pierre, all the men who assaulted her.
It was chaos, a media frenzy. But it was important.
It forced people to see this dark side, the exploitation,
It made society confront some hard truths.
about abuse, about control, about how the system failed.
It was a wake-up call, people demanding accountability, demanding change.
But Dominique, even with all the evidence,
Yeah.
he stayed defiant, manipulative, no remorse.
Classic abuser.
He admitted to everything with Giselle, but he said it was consensual.
What? That she knew.
He even said she encouraged it.
It's a common tactic to deny, to blame the victim.
And it works because people have these biases.
About women, about sex, about who to believe.
It's maddening. He's the one who did all this, and he's acting like,
The victim.
like she's the one who hurt him.
And the other defendants, some of them,
Like Jean-Pierre.
they'd say they were sorry, but then
They'd minimize it. Blame Dominique. Say they were forced to.
You never want to take responsibility.
It's like they can't face what they did.
Yeah.
the consequences.
It's society, too. It's
Yeah.
like, we accept this male entitlement.
We minimize women's suffering. We blame them for
That
it.
has to change. We have to believe survivors.
Hold the abusers accountable. Make it clear. Abuse is not okay.
It's hard to find, a silver lining in a story like this.
Yeah.
But Giselle's strength,
Oh, absolutely.
it really stands out.
Incredible.
Even in court, facing him, reliving everything.
Right.
She had this determination about her.
It's resilience, isn't it?
It is.
For survivors, I think that resilience, it comes from
Yeah.
needing to take back their story. They had control taken away.
And she didn't just, sit back passively.
No.
Giselle spoke out to the media, advocating for others.
She turned her pain into purpose.
Powerful.
Truly, it shows you the human spirit. It can endure anything, come out stronger.
But this trial, groundbreaking as it was, it's just one piece.
Right.
The legal system, it's important, holding people accountable.
Absolutely.
But real change,
Mm.
it has to come from us, from society.
Changing how we think about abuse, about consent.
We can't keep blaming the victim, minimizing what happened.
We have to believe survivors.
Support them.
Make it safe for them to come forward
Exactly.
without being judged or punished for it.
And it starts with education,
Yes.
talking about consent, healthy relationships,
Red flags, what to look out for.
not just at home, but in schools, everywhere.
We have to break the silence.
Dismantle these systems that protect abusers.
Give people the tools to recognize abuse.
And remember,
Yeah.
abuse isn't always obvious.
Right. It can be subtle,
Sneaky.
disguised as love,
It could be so hard to see.
and even harder to escape.
Like with Dominique and Giselle, those early signs.
The cracks in the facade.
In the moment, it's easy to miss them.
When you're in love, making plans.
It makes sense to overlook things, explain them away.
We all want to believe the best.
But it's a lesson for us all.
Yeah.
Pay attention to those subtle signs.
Yeah, the manipulation, the controlling behavior.
Even early on.
Trust your gut.
If something feels off, ask questions.
Get support.
Don't be afraid to walk away.
Love shouldn't mean sacrificing your safety.
Giselle's story, it shows us what happens when we stay silent.
Ignoring the warnings, trusting the wrong person.
Devastating.
So, thinking about that question you asked before,
About true justice.
in a case like this,
Yeah. Is it the verdict, the prison time?
is that enough?
Or is it something bigger?
Getting to the root of the problem.
The systems that allow this to happen.
Just silence.
That's what we need to think about.
true justice.
Yeah.
It's not just punishment, it's preventing this from ever happening again.
It's about changing the systems, the power dynamics.
The culture that allows abuse to happen,
That's a huge task. But Giselle,
she's incredible.
her courage, her resilience,
She shows us change is possible.
Even in the darkest times, there's hope.
She's a call to action for us all, to be more aware,
More compassionate.
to challenge how things are, demand better.
For ourselves, for our kids, for everyone.
Well said.
So, that's our deep dive into this case.
Heavy stuff.
It's tough, but it's a conversation we need to have.
Absolutely.
If you've been affected by any of this,
Yeah.
remember, you're not alone. There are resources, people who care.
There is hope.
Thank you for joining us.